Everyone, this is update for October 11, 2024, day 961 of the war, end of the date update. Also catch up for October 10, 9, and 8. I Actually, I'm gonna start with some kind of like advertising, and I'm looking for support to help me finish book about the German invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, and this is going to be a war map atlas, specifically about the invasion of Army Group South into the Soviet Union, and the time period is going to be from June 21st. Like first day before the invasion, and then ending early December. So it's going to be every single day, and this is based on German captured German war maps. So this is let's say 100% correct from a German perspective. From the Soviet perspective, actually the the Soviet troops are not perfectly correct because it's a German perspective. They did not have full information, so it's sort of like a little bit of fog of war. But based on the information that I also accumulated for the Soviet part, it's about 80% correct. Hopefully, down the road, I'll be able to kind of make a sort of combine the both sort of sides, so that's going to be as perfect as possible. There's obviously a problem with the Soviet side for that time because most of the maps did not survive because it was chaos, retreat, and so on. So there's quite a little of information available, but there is still it's still available, and there is still room to improve original German documents. So the goal is to publish this book sometime for Christmas of this year. And so I'm looking for support to sort of speed up the work. The work has been going on already for a while. And I just kind of want to push it a little bit so it comes out before Christmas, as I stated. The plan is to sell it through Amazon, and those who will support obviously will get significant discounts, depending obviously on the amount, but 20, 30, 40, 50% of the sort of face value of the book. So that's and then if you decide to support, you just I would ask to write in a message Army Group South or AG South, so I understand this is to support development of this book. Now, actually, let's switch situation to our topics. I'm gonna skip today macroeconomic review because the U.S. Treasury hasn't published their update, and as I mentioned, I kind of want to do a review or over for the year and for the September, and kind of show big picture where things are going in terms of otherwise U.S. labor market still where it used to be. So meaning employment is there. There's no layoffs, but there is very little hiring, and that's just in essence, and the rest is basically derivative of that. So the inflation in the U.S. Pretty stubborn. I would say it does not go away. So that's over long run is going to be a problem. But as I stated, once that report comes out, I'll do a little bit more broader review, including U.S. and the rest of the Western countries. For now, let's just start with situation on the battlefield in Ukraine, where, as I mentioned, things are getting quite bad for Ukraine, and I would say at this point, Ukrainian defensive lines are collapsing pretty much everywhere where there is some meaningful Russian pressure. That's, I would say, in a summary, where things are going, developing, and unfortunately, because there is no changes on the Ukrainian side, neither in political leadership nor in military leadership, things probably will get worse, and hopefully they will get better at some point. But I'm going to start with a walkthrough in a clockwise fashion, starting from the very north and then moving in a southern direction. So first is Ukrainian incursion into Kursk region. And I did not update map because unfortunately there's not much of a I would say information that's 100% verifiable. There's a lot of incomplete information, potentially incorrect, contradicting, and so on. But one thing is very clear that on the 10th of October, Russian troops attempted a fairly large-scale attack on Ukrainian forces in the direction of Lyubimovka here towards Novoivanovka, with the idea of cutting off this road between Korenevo and Suja, which they made quite a bit of sort of success. They move quite a bit from west towards east. At the same time, there was attack from this Malaya Loknya, where apparently Russian troops are already there. In the same, sort of kind of like to meet the Russian troops attacking from the west. The Ukrainian forces were in crisis, and I would say it's miracle that the encirclement was avoided. So basically, you have two pincers. One is going from Mala Loknya, other one is from Lyubimovka towards Novoivanovka. And this was small bottleneck that Ukrainian forces managed to keep open because there are Ukrainian troops up north there, as you can see. And the fight is still ongoing. Russian troops attempting to obviously close this hole and encircle Ukrainian troops that are up north. Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, this whole adventure is not going to end well for Ukrainian forces, simply because there is no goal, there is no further movement. The only being in defense is basically road to nowhere. I'd say not like road to nowhere. It's a road to disaster for Ukrainian troops, given that they are not capable of active defense and counterattacks and so on. So this is just a very rigid approach, as I mentioned, peasants' army, and that really leads to eventual collapse of the defense. And apparently Russian command accumulated some more troops. It's impossible to say how much more, but there was a significant armored groups that were participating in this attack. So, for example, Ukrainian forces mentioning like 30 armored vehicles attacking Lyubimovka and then moving towards Novoivanovka. And I mentioned this many times before that approach actually works for Russia. There are some losses. Ukrainian forces claim that they destroyed 15 armored vehicles, but 15 others managed to achieve the goal. So that's this classic example. That's the whole point, that armored the tanks and AFVs need to be attacking in large formations, and that's where that's how result is achieved. And simply Russian command is not doing any rocket science. They just apparently finally open textbook and basically applying textbook, and largely it works. It's not perfect because there is problem with the skills of ordinary soldiers on the Russian side as well, but it's good enough from a Russian perspective. So as I mentioned, things are getting pretty nasty in Kursk region for Ukrainian forces, and that will be it will be another blow to to morale inside of Ukraine, and obviously increase tensions, because this really means that eventually this sort of bridgehead of Ukraine in Kursk region will be eliminated. It's just at this point it's a question of time. Now let's move to area north of Kharkiv or northeast of Kharkiv. Things here are frozen. Nothing really to report of importance here. Now let's move to the North Lugansk front line. Things here are also getting bad, in moving in a negative direction for Ukrainian forces. Russian troops, and this is a little bit cut off on the northern side. They essentially on the eastern outskirts of Kupyansk. So the majority, the core of Kupyansk of town is on the western side of the Skill River. There is sort of the outskirts on the eastern side, and essentially from the northern, basically Russian troops are essentially on the on the eastern outskirts of Kupyansk, but from the northeastern direction. There's also Russian troops continuing their advance in the area of Makiyevka, so they cross this here as well, this stream, and so essentially they moving forward. Obviously, direction is to move to a Skill River, which the key here will be this town Liman, and that's the main goal, but by the Russian troops. So again, situation is moving in negative direction here as well. Not as dire situation, but very clearly nothing positive here for Ukraine. Now let's look at the situation on the North Donbass front line. Things here are actually on the northern sector are somewhat quiet. Again, probably related to the fact that Russian command is pulling some of the troops, some of the reserves, or basically creating reserves by pulling troops from this direction. So there is not much going on here over this period of time. Now, situation west of Bakhmut remains more or less the same. No major Russian advances here. Apparently, Russian command is not considering this as important area for them right now. Now let's move to a situation on the central Donbass front line, and the situation remains catastrophic and moving towards more catastrophic for Ukrainian forces. No question about it. There was somewhat sort of wise decision by Ukrainian command that they pulled Ukrainian troops from this pocket that was west of Nevelske. So essentially, Ukrainian troops evacuated that. So that's sort of, I would say, I call it as a positive development, but obviously it's a large loss of territory. But at least Ukrainian forces were not encircled there. Russian troops continuing their attacks, and I just want to show a little bit more in detail. So this is more updated map. So the more important part that Russian troops are sort of semi-encircled Selidova, as you can see. So it's very clear that the goal is to create this pincers, very sort of classic, typical approach, and that's being applied everywhere by Russian command. And so far they are successful in getting there with respect to Selidova. So as you can see, Russian troops moved and moving towards this village Vishneva. At that point, it's going to be nearly impossible to hold Selidova, and it's just Ukrainian forces will be forced to leave this town. At the same time, Russian troops a little bit improved their positions in this area around Kreminna-Balka. And as I mentioned, this is Ukrainian troops essentially pulled from this pocket. So the front line at this point is basically this stream is dividing the both sides. The only place where Ukrainian forces still have sort of small bridgehead on the eastern side of this stream in this village Alexandropol, and the rest is basically gone. Also, Russian troops completely took control of this, I don't know how you call it, peninsular around Ostrivske. So they fully control this area. So they potentially they can create quite a bit of problem if they, which probably they will attempt to basically cross and start attacking Kurakhova from the northeast, and that really means that Ukrainian forces in Maximilianivka or whatever they control portion of it, western portion of it, will have to retreat. So things are, moving along the catastrophic path. No sort of changes there in this on the central Donbass front line, and this is how the situation looked 4 days ago when I made last video. Now let's look at the situation on Zaporizhya front line. Things more or less stable, more or less the same. Some Russian pressure in this Velika Novosilka area. Now they sort of shifted the focus. Russian command shifted focus towards the sort of in the western area, west of Velika Novosilka. But again, this is not sort of not major pressure. Pretty just pressure for the sake of pressure, essentially. Now let's look at the situation along the Dnipro River, and things here are quiet. There's nothing really is going on here. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.